Welcome to the Sunday morning meditation service. We're going to be doing a chant, and it's a call and response. And I'll sing a line, and then you respond. This is a way to just get into yourself into a very, very, very quiet place where you just feel the words that are going in and through you and hear the message, and you're one with it. And it goes right into where you need to be in the oneness with all life. So that's why we do this chant. It's just a way to calm yourself down from all the activities you did this morning, to get centered and to just become one with everything that lives. So let's do our chant.
Good morning, everyone. Let's begin by tuning into what may be the most understood or known prayer there is. This is the prayer of St. Francis. Let's tune into what it actually is relating. Lord, make me an instrument of thy peace. Where there is hatred, let me sow love. Where there is offense, let me sow pardon. Where there is discord, let me bring unity. Where there is error, let me bring truth. Where there is doubt, let me bring faith. Where there is despair, let me bring hope. Where there is darkness, let me bring light. Where there is sadness, let me bring joy. Let me not seek so much to be consoled as to console, to be understood as to understand, to be loved as to love. For it is in giving that we receive. It is in pardoning that we are pardoned. It is in dying to the illusion of separation that we are born into the awareness of oneness. When I labeled this prayer and gave it to Heather to type up, because I wanted to use the bottom part of it, I put on there, edited to conform to unity awareness. So some of the things you heard in there are my edit of this prayer. What's interesting to note and important to note is that St. Francis is not requesting something to be accomplished to favor him or bless him. He is requesting the ability to be able to bestow these elements to others and to life in general. And that is something that it's a step that we take when we're moving from religion to spirituality. There is the initial idea as we grow up and grow in life that prayer has to be involved with praying to God, a separate God somewhere that's going to intercede in our lives and bring about whatever change or whatever it is we are requesting in that prayer. But in this particular prayer, you can see that the prayer is that the consciousness of St. Francis will be able to give this. Because, and this is an important idea, it is in giving that we receive. And that might take us a while to get there, that it is in giving that we receive. Can we have the first PowerPoint, please? This is the bottom part of the prayer. O Master, let me not seek as much to be consoled as to console, to be understood as to understand, to be loved as to love. For it is in giving that one receives, it is in pardoning that one is pardoned, it is in dying to the illusion of separation that one is awakened to the oneness of life. If we contemplate what is being related here, it brings us to a certain realization that all minds in some way must be in communication. In other words, to try to affect someone else is not to pray to a separate God or to try to have any kind of blessing in one's own life, is not necessarily to pray that some element outside of us will bring it to us. But it is in developing it from within ourselves to be able to give it out. So it is in giving that we receive. And this is an important point about consciousness. It is in the ability to give out these elements of emotion and feeling that we receive. And if we practice with that at all, we see that that is true. When we are in that mindset of wanting to love, heal, help, serve, something's going on within us. We are feeling the love. We are feeling the joy and the peace, because it is in giving this instrument we call life, the mind. You see, while it is conditioned and trained early on in life to perceive itself as separate and needing to gain something from outside of itself, it at some point must recognize that that is not a pathway to complete happiness and love. And while we're in the unity experience, we have to be brave enough to examine our deepest beliefs, especially if life doesn't seem to be blessing us, that we're not receiving that harmony or peace of mind that we are really wanting for ourselves. So you have to check in to see what attitudes and emotions one is harboring that may be creating this inharmony in your experience. Just imagine that if all minds are in communication, all part of this oneness. Now, it may be that some minds are closed to accepting that, but it is true, nevertheless, they may just feel something and not have any connection to knowing why things are happening the way they happen. And many people are like that. It's because it's like, when we talk about the mind, we're not simply talking about the conscious level of awareness in mind. We're talking about the subconscious mind. I think of the subconscious mind as like a storage shed or garage that we've just been adding stuff into so often that we have not a really good idea of all that's in there. And stuff we may have put in there when we were younger still exists, and it has an effect on everything around us. You will notice that some people have an amazing consciousness. When I was younger, I used to really wonder about people who had a countenance, their face was happy. And I used to wonder, well, how are they happy? Why are they happy? Or at least their face, or is it some kind of, fake thing that they're doing? And then I would look at people whose faces declared something else, not happiness. Sometimes despair, sometimes sadness. But if we get right down to the truth of it, we are in school to learn how to live in relationship to the law of life. I was talking to someone the other day, we were talking about religion, and I said, and we were talking about truth. Some people are seeking God, Buddha, Jesus, Christ, all the things that go along with religion. So much of it is outside of ourselves, hoping for some intermediary to come in. But the truth now, see how safe people feel if you're seeking the truth. Well, if you're seeking the truth, there's a real catch to it. People who are seeking the truth quite often are seeking to understand intellectually how life works. But if you're really seriously seeking the truth, what's going to sneak up on you and grab you at some point is, are you capable of being truthful? Not only in your own egocentric awareness of yourself, which always assumes one is the most truthful and others are not as truthful, but in the subconscious mind, where you might be harboring attitudes and emotions to certain people and elements in the world. Are you being truthful? Do you understand that? There's a beautiful story about Roy of that, Las Vegas act, Siegfried and Roy. They had these tigers that they even had their home, and the grounds that they lived on, they had tigers and other wild animals that they would use in the show. Not all of them were kept in confined areas. Some of them were almost like pets. But Roy was one from the very beginning. He was the one that loved animals, all kinds of animals. And at one point, somehow or other, they had been contacted by someone that this old circus that was in some European country broke up and the animals were badly abused and mistreated. And they didn't know if they should just put them away. And when they contacted Roy, he said, well, the cats, if there's any cats, I'll take them on. And he took on a panther that even his attendants, who were very well trained, were terrified of. That black panther, if you went near its cage, it would reach its paw out and try to slash you. And they would have to throw the food in to the cage for this animal. But Roy one day went over there and started talking to this panther, and then opened the door and went into the cage and sat down. And the cat, this cat was just screaming and like he's going to attack and kill this man. That's what was in the beginning when he was talking to him. But when he stepped inside that cage, that cat quieted down and just stared at him. And then it finally came over and laid down with his head on his knee. And that's because his consciousness was such. He had nothing but love and compassion for these creatures. And they picked up on it. And whether you've done any kind of experimenting with this or not, animals have a way of picking up on someone that doesn't really have a feeling of comfort with them. If you have a feeling of fear around animals, you are going to attract that. They only feel the fear. They don't know that you're afraid of them. They just feel fear, and that creates the inconsistencies that take place, and they might be very, very capable of injuring you if you really hold that fear. So what I'm saying is that, and this is a hard one to get over. Can you imagine? I'm speaking to these people here, and do you know that life is consciousness? And do you know completely and fully that life is your consciousness? Or is it kind of haphazard? Because so many people come to unity who aren't really interested in anything but having an intellectual understanding of what unity is teaching. That will never really fully help you. Just considering intellectually the things that are being shared in the unity principles and teachings isn't going to do it. So that there has to be a desire to understand it so fully as to apply it in one's life and experiment with it until you know that life is your consciousness. And while other people may not be in concert with that all the time, ultimately, for the most part, by cultivating the spiritual principles of compassion, consideration, love, peace, your life will change, and that will be the ultimate outpicturing of your experience. And that's what makes the universe honorable. So let us take a look at this next PowerPoint. It just about says the entire truth of A Course in Miracles. You can read this in the old text, page 133, and in the new text, 144. If God's will for you is complete peace and joy, unless you experience only this, you must be refusing to acknowledge His will. You might be able to get a better feeling for this if you understood the will to be the law of life, the true law of life, not that which power-hungry people have tried to make so, or fear-driven people have tried to make so. But there is a law of life that we are part of. So what it is saying is, if God's will for you is complete peace and joy, unless you experience only this, you must be refusing to acknowledge the law of life. This law of life does not vacillate, being changeless forever. When you are not at peace, it can only be because you do not believe you are in Him, in the one intelligence which has given you life. Yet He is all in all. His peace is complete, and you must be included in it. His laws govern you because they govern everything. You cannot exempt yourself from His laws, although you can disobey them. Yet if you do, and only if you do, you will feel lonely and helpless because you are denying yourself everything. I am come as a light into a world that does deny itself everything. It is therefore an illusion of isolation, maintained by fear of the same loneliness that is its illusion. Can we take this back again, please? This is the entire Course in Miracles in these paragraphs right here. If God's will for you is complete peace and joy, unless you experience only this, can you imagine saying that in this world today? What would you say to everybody? Stand up if you're not experiencing peace and joy every moment. You know why? Because we have been so totally conditioned to the illusionary definition of self. That's it. We were born and raised in a definition of life that is flawed. And so many people who are in that flawed definition don't understand that life was meant to be an awareness of that which is sacred. Life is sacred. Don't take it for granted. So here it is being said to us, His will does not vacillate. It's changeless. When you are not at peace, it can only be because you do not believe you are in Him. What you believe is you are in your personal body, limited self. That's what you're believing. That's what you're living from. There's me, and there's all that is not me. And unless enough of those things that are not me conform to what my desires are, what I would have, then I'm not at peace. But they must conform. And so we spend our lives trying to make enough money, enough power, enough popularity, so that we can get as many things to conform to our personal lifestyles and desires. Fact of the matter is, you still don't know the truth of life. Life blesses you when you become, listen to it, a servant of life and not a dictator to life. So that you're capable of being any place at any time and moving with and flowing with life as it is. And so you are capable of establishing that peace and harmony that you would really like to have all the time. But you think by doing that, somehow or other, you'll lose your grip on getting the things from the world that you want. And here's the kick. Everything that you seek from the world has an easier way of coming to you in your experience. So you seek first the kingdom or consciousness of God. That's what the Bible says. And all these things that you have sought and fought for will be added unto you. How can that be? Except that God is extraordinary and in everything. And everything knows the truth of itself. When you are not at peace, it can only be because you do not believe you are in Him. Yet He is all in all. His peace is complete, and you must be included in it. His laws govern you because they govern everything. You cannot exempt yourself from His laws, although you can disobey them, but only in your mind. Only in your mind can you disobey His laws. That's something to take with you and contemplate. You cannot break free of the divine law of life, for it is what you sow that you reap. It was set up so perfectly. If you're not aware of it, you're just not awake yet. What you're putting out, attitudes you hold, produce after their kind. There's a saying in Unity. Thoughts held in mind produce after their kind in manifestation. Whether you believe that or not, that's what's taking place. So it's saying that His laws govern everything. Until you get it, you're not attempting to cultivate kindness, forgiveness, peace, love. You wouldn't be doing that because your personal illusionary definition of life, of being a separate body mind in a world of separate phenomena, impels you to continue to allow your self-interest to precede you in everything you do. So I can testify to this because over the years, I've told you a number of times that when I got into the spiritual work with Edgar Casey, I really became very interested in people, actions, and consciousness. Trying to understand why people do the things they do. Occasionally I'll go up to strangers when they're doing something, and that's extraordinary or strange and asked them, why did you do that? Or why are you doing that? And so I've been very much involved in consciousness. Now I can tell you this, before I was ever in the work though, I lived in the same illusionary ideas and created more suffering and more trouble for myself and for those around me than I should have. I remember I had a writing partner for a while who we had gotten some interest from a really big agency in New York City. General Artists Corporation became interested in the script that out of nowhere, we sent it in, that we had written. And we had a young new agent that was working for that huge organization that handled stars in stage and screen and did all these specials on television and stuff. But this new agent was looking to get some clients, and so we got involved with having this young new agent. But my partner was such a character that he was so self-centered and self-righteous. He didn't say very many words when we were at these meetings with Paul Block, who was the agent at General Artists Corporation, who was looking at this screenplay, and he was passing it around through all the producers and directors that might be interested in it. But when he was talking to us, he said, you know, this may not come about for a while, but I've got a situation where I have an ad agency that is looking for a really new but very inspired copywriter. Would you guys be interested in it? And my partner said, absolutely not. Are you kidding? I'm going to sell my soul for what? Write commercial crap? And so we left that meeting, but then I called Paul Block back and said, look, I'll talk my partner into it. Just get us an interview with that. And what turned out is that my partner remained adamant. He really just was being so self-righteous about what he would write and wouldn't write. He said, yeah, they want us for cheap. What they want to do is they want to buy our souls for cheap. And I said, look, what have you got against money? He said, you're not going to make that much money. These guys will rip you off. That's all they ever do. So this whole thing went on. As it turned out, I went by myself for the interview, pretending that we were writing partners. And that's how Paul Block, the agent, sold us to the agency. And when I got there, the top guy at this Madison Avenue copywriting agency gave me a test. He said, I want you to just give me an elevator pitch on a new hand cream that Yardley's of London is putting out. And I'm not going to give you the pitch. I did it. It was so amazingly great. He hired me and said, how much do you want to make? Nobody had ever said to me, how much do you want to make? And because there was two of us, this guy thought he was going to get both of us. I said, look, can I work in the office myself and then take the stuff that we have to create back, and my partner will work with me back in our apartment, and I'll bring the finished product in, and I'll be here to answer to it and do whatever. So he said, yeah, that works for us. How much do you want to get paid? And I said, $600 a week. At that time would have been about like asking for $1,200 a week today. And he said, okay, fine, we'll start you off at that and see how well you do. I had no intention of ever giving my writing partner any of it. And I went to the guy in personnel and said, you can just make the check out to me. I'll divide it and give it to my writing partner. So that's how I had one of the highest paying copywriting jobs on Madison Avenue for a while. But the attitudes and the emotions of this writing partner, even when he was sitting in the office, you could sense his negative feelings toward this whole idea. And that's why I'm saying how important it is for us to be introspective. Because all of the stuff that we collect over the years and put in that storage, room or that garage, we forget about it. But it's still there. And it still sometimes exudes or comes forth in our relationships. So we have to be keenly aware to check in and be introspective about what I might be holding that's keeping me from experiencing harmony in relationships or experiencing some financial need, or maybe something else that's missing in your life. But don't look outside yourself too long before you take a really honest look within, because a lot of the things that we have in that storage space called the subconscious mind has a way of still operating in our experience. I think I'll take you to a place where you fully understand what I'm sharing. How inclined would you be to do a favor for someone you absolutely detest? You see how the mind works? Right there. Someone you absolutely detest. How inclined would you be to go out of your way to do something for someone you absolutely detest? And in that case, that someone will also sense and be the same way toward you. Because while all minds may not be awake, all minds are in communication. And as we grow in consciousness and begin to understand that we can replace all of the limited attitudes and emotions we've collected in that subconscious mind by simply replacing it with, higher ideals, with attitudes of consideration, wisdom, peace. And in that way, we come to life, true life. Now you know, look at this, all religion has just piled up. This massive, massive pile, a mountain of religion and thought and pomp and circumstances is piled up like a tsunami waiting to just flow in on top of you. Except that you know thoughts held in my mind produce after their kind in manifestation. If I don't like what's happening in my life, I need to become more introspective about what I am really believing. What am I really believing? What am I really believing? So we're going to take a few moments to meditate, become still. Meditation is not necessarily introspection. Contemplation can be introspection. But meditation, for the most part, is practicing becoming present so that you relax the thinking apparatus that Eckhart Tolle says is forever going. So you relax and look at this. You start to give yourself permission to just be who you are where you are, doing nothing special. Just who you are, where you are, doing nothing special. And if you start to work on that, you start to feel a freedom and peace that you may not have felt for a while. And if you start to live that, that will start to reflect to you in all of your relationships. And everything that's taking place in life will start to relate to you in that way. So, we're going to meditate, become present, awake and aware, and willing to be here just as we are. Only one everything. In you, in me, in everything we see, there is only one. Only one. Only God. as we go forth from this meditation to those places we occupy in time and space. Let us go forth with a greater determination to practice being awake in life. To this we say, Amen. We will take an offering for unity now. Those of you tuning in online can make an offering in any one of these ways. As we bring to mind that financial gift we'd like to make, let's bless it with this offering prayer. Divine love, through me, blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive, because I give. We have a potluck after the second service. So there won't be any group meeting after this service. But I'm inviting you to do the potluck because it gives you an opportunity to meet other people, sit at a table, enjoy the conversation, and share some food. So you can just bring something back if to add to the potluck, which means you can buy something in 7-Eleven even. Bring something to share and join us after the second service for that potluck. All right. Santisha will be speaking at the next service at 11 o'clock. Okay. To everyone, have a beautiful day.